Well, welcome back, because it's been a while since you've had this crew in. We had our off week. I decided to disappear because, well, Jason sent me a package and he said, if you don't leave, I don't get cake or something. I can't remember exactly. I think you're going to, kidnap one of my pets, Jason. So we're finally back. The right crew, the real crew, the people that you trust every week for waiver wires. Jason, welcome back.
It's good to be back. About a week and a half off here. Feeling nice and refreshed. It's the second half. We're coming down the stretch here. Find some league winners.
And that's the thing, right? It's that right now it's like the slow, kind of monotonous. We're in summer, so don't get me wrong, but it's kind of hard sometimes to focus on baseball when this is really the time you can win your league. It's right off the All-Star break. A lot of things are changing. A lot of roster shakeup. For my rosters, I am having a lot of injuries and a lot of people going into rehab and trying to figure out exactly, are they doing rehab assignments and when they're going to be back? So a lot of things that can really make or break both your team and the people around you. So you got to really be paying attention to the waiver wire. And that's what we're here for. Again, we're brought to you by Fantasy Six Pack. Come on down, become a subscriber, because first of all, you can talk to us and you can talk to us on our Discord. And we love talking to our subscribers, going through your rosters, finding out different ways to improve yourself, and of course, just talking baseball. We love doing that. And also, we're rated ranked number one at Fangraphs as the best ranking or most accurate rankers. So you get the most accurate rankers, and you get us. Well, what more could you want? And then, of course, with football season coming up, we also are running some great specials as well. So come on down, become a subscriber. So let's kick off the show like we always do by hitting you over the head with somebody. I don't know if we covered him, and we were actually kind of looking through some of our old shows, but because he's over 40% owned, really, I don't understand how you can't own him. In fact, I was expecting his ownership. Jason and I were just laughing about this. Should be over 70% plus just because of how heralded he is. Just another Reds prospect coming up. It's like the Orioles, the Reds. Oh my God, another prospect. Coming up, Christian Encarnacion-Strand. He got called up. Scout the stat line at Statline Scout on Twitter says CES finally gets the call up from the Cincinnati Reds. The 24-year-old was slashing .331, .405, .637 with 20 home runs in AAA. Yeah, that will play, sir. That will play. Now, we were also trying to figure out, where does he play? I mean, he's a corner infielder, but also DHs a lot. And the great thing now with the National League is we have that DH we have to be careful for as well. 5 games already, 17 plate appearances. We always call that out just in case there's some walks. We have 1 home run, 4 runs, 4 RBIs, and only about a 6% K rate. Now, this isn't blowing the doors off anything, right? He's got a 300 or so on base percentage at 294. But we see the pedigree. And more importantly, and I know this is like the 80th week in a row I've said this, Cincinnati plays in a home run friendly park. You have a power hitting prospect who absolutely has the power to get it out of the park. You're going to enjoy these home starts for him as well. So I see playing time, which is key for prospects. I see a great home park, which is fantastic for power hitters. And I see a guy with a discernible eye. That just is all the ingredients I need for somebody who's going to be either starting in my lineup or right there on the top of the bench, ready to just jump in as soon as he hits a hot streak. So, Jason, what are you doing with CES? Are you just picking him up to hold on to see what he does, or are you putting him in right away?
If he's available in my league, I'm definitely picking him up, and I'm definitely putting him in. We're really kind of seeing immediate impact, right? It's been a small sample size, but we already got a 3-run home run. This is a guy that hit 30-plus home runs last year. He's on pace again this year to hit 30-plus home runs across a couple levels. Again, Christian Encarnacion-Strand is a huge power threat. Plays not just one of the best home run parks. He's now becoming the best home run park. Right. Half his games will be in that. And they've been doing a really good job with all those guys, mixing them in around. He's, played DH first, third, might get some multi-position eligibility here. They've done a really good job in Cincinnati mixing those young guys around and getting them playing time. So for whatever reason, he might be available in your league at 60% of leagues unowned. which is quite shocking. He needs to be picked up, and even if you don't start him, like, I don't know, I don't really have a spot for him. You got to get this guy on your bench. This is the type of guy that ends up being a league winner, right? Like
right.
on the stretch,
Absolutely.
hitting a couple home runs a week. Absolutely no reason he should be available in 60% of leagues.
Yeah, it blew us away. We don't try to include anybody on our waiver wires that's above 50%. We try to include people that are much lower, but with the hitting over the head segment, we definitely look at people that are in the 30s and 40%, and we just couldn't believe he was included there. So going from a heralded prospect to a once heralded prospect, and honestly, I was blown away. He just seems so much older. Trevor Story is 30. He seems like he's been around for forever. I thought he was like in his 35, 34. He's 30 years old. Now, why are we talking about him, right? Well, he's going to be back soon. And a lot of people forgot about him. If you don't have an IL in your league, right, then you probably don't have him rostered anywhere. Or if you have only three locked positions for IL, he definitely was dropped, right? So people forget about Trevor Story. He's going to be playing. He's been injured quite a bit, but, he's now coming back. So in his career, we're looking at somebody who is almost a 9% walk. You know what? Let me stop. It's Trevor Story. So Trevor Story playing in Fenway. Why am I even telling you the stats? If you've played baseball, fantasy baseball at all, you know who Trevor Story is. You know what he's going to do. He's going to hit a bunch of doubles. He's going to maybe hit some home runs. He's going to be on the field almost all the time, unless he gets hurt again. He's an everyday player in the middle infield. You got to kind of pick him up. Jason, I know I'm being kind of tongue in cheek here, but what do we need to do to try to convince people that Trevor Story is the man and we need to pick him up?
Yeah, hopefully this was somebody that was maybe on your radar already, because I think the ownership's going to start going up here soon, because news is now breaking. He's on his rehab assignment, which means he's on the verge of making his return to Boston. Hit a 3-run home run last night at AA. Again, not much to say here other than it's Trevor Story. He probably is available just because he was not even probably drafted in a lot of leagues. Or if he was an early draftee and then was dropped after the news came out that he would be missing, 3/4 of the season. But he's on the verge back. He should be available in a lot of leagues. And again, similar how Encarnacion-Strand is a big power hitter that could be, coming back and making, having you a league winner, making a run for you. Trevor Story could be that guy as well. He's just, again, big power threat. That Boston lineup is kind of sneaky good with Devers and Yoshida and Cassis. Trevor Story is going to be probably in the middle of that lineup too, driving those guys in. So if for whatever reason he's available in your league, get him now, even though he's still probably on the IL for another week. Probably with him being gone for so long, I'm assuming they're going to give him, I think he's allowed I don't remember the amount of games, but I think he's only allowed to be down for 2 weeks. So
I think I think it's when his Airbnb runs out. So that's when he's got to come up.
Yeah, I know there's some sort of rules with rehab assignments, but he'll be back soon. So if he's available for some reason in your league, absolutely grab him. I know you need a second baseman in your league, so grab him.
Were you shocked that he's only 30?
I was actually, yeah, because I feel like he was with Colorado for what seemed like for at least 7 years.
Yeah, I was. That's exactly it. I thought it was just Colorado for forever. So yeah, I was kind of blown away. But yeah, well, thanks, Jason, for putting in real stats. I just heard Trevor Story and I was like, Trevor Story.
Yeah, there's not much else to look at other than he's probably going to be a popular ad because he's making the news now. Again, right. This game last night, he had a 3-run home run. Everyone's kind of getting that news out there, so he's going to be a priority on a lot of people's lists. So just keep that in mind.
Sure. All right, let's go from Trevor Story, who everybody knows, to another person everybody knows. But come on, he's a top tier prospect, and I know a lot of people are drafting him. And then when he kind of went down, then came up. I'll be honest with you, I've seen him dropped in a lot of leagues, and we couldn't believe how low his ownership percentage is. But Grayson Rodriguez, just another Orioles prospect. Somehow, I think the last number was they graduated 142 prospects just this year and called up, and they still have 322 top 10 prospects. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, they haven't even seemed like they budged the overall top 100 numbers. So Alex Fast, as we all know, both a supermodel by day, creator of all types of metrics by night, did a great tweet about his most recent start back on July 18th. Some things I've noticed from Grayson Rodriguez yesterday. His release is a lot closer to third base. He has less horizontal break on his changeup. And this is key because you'll see this one almost on every tweet about his last start. Just one cutter. He was getting hit a lot on his cutter, first of all. And secondly, it just wasn't the best pitch. But he looks like he's really kind of dropped it. Now, he's probably going to mix it in there once in a blue moon just to keep people honest. But going from one of his top 3 pitches to being one of his least used pitches, and also because it was one of his worst pitches, that shows me that they really worked on him in the minors. And it's not like he was that far away from being great. It's Grayson Rodriguez, for goodness sakes. But, in AAA, he's blowing out that he doesn't need to be in AAA anymore, right? He almost 12.5 Ks per 9 with only 2 walks, great control, 6 wins. And again, I'm in the 14 starts that he had, along with almost 78% left on base. Now, we're going back here to, the majors, and what should we expect, right? His expected ERA was something like near 7. But I think with this new arsenal, with this change that he's had now, with kind of where he's delivering the ball, getting rid of his arsenal change, I'm a firm believer. Now, even without that, I was going to be a firm believer because his pedigree is great. And the Orioles have been doing great things with their pitching, heck, with all their prospects. And most importantly, the defense behind him is going to be fantastic. The prospects that they've called up all play fantastic D. I see all the pieces coming together. Not to mention, if he gets behind it all, I mean, the offense that could pick him up at the number 1, first place Orioles, which is still hard to believe. I see somebody who's going to just take off. And I know it's not a huge thing to say because he's a top prospect, but he's a definite add. And I know we get a little tired from him sometimes because we're like, oh, Grayson Rodriguez, I've heard his name for I think 15 years now. But, it's just one of those things where drop all the stuff that happened in the past. He's an add right now. Jason, tell him why.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about every week we need pitching, right? I mean, Grayson Rodriguez has not had the best track record so far here in his MLB career. But he has to be, just pick him up, and I know you got a bench spot for him. Stash him right now, because unfortunately his next start now comes against Tampa Bay. So you may want to hold a little caution on that. But right. I think, so when he came back now, like Alex Fast mentioned, he's now relying on just those 2 pitches, it seems like, just a fastball and the changeup, which someone like a young pitcher, it could be a good thing, right? Just get back to your bread and butter, work those 2 pitches, get the hitters off balance. Don't try going out there throwing 4 different pitches, because that's right now has been one of his biggest issues, has been the control and the command. The walks have just been awful up at the major league level. It just hasn't transitioned so far. He's walking almost 4 batters per 9, which is just not good because those guys are going to come back around and score. So, however, he needs to be rostered because at some point something's going to click. He's going to get back to relying more on those 2 pitches. And again, it's for Baltimore and they're in first place. So the one thing that would caution though is
so weird to say that.
One thing I would caution though is I feel like the leash may be kind of short on him just because they are in a contention right now. They're not going to keep running him out there. Just keeps surrendering 5, 6, 7 runs every thing. And I wouldn't be surprised also if they transition to more of like a bullpen role, right? Here in the if they have concerns about his command,
right.
Get him in that bulk,
like a bulk reliever type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just get him, get him some confidence, get him, striking major league batters out, and then maybe transition him back to the rotation. But obviously he's in rotation right now. He needs to be on a team because the skill set is just there. We've seen it in the past. The strikeouts are gonna be there. you need to add this guy if he's available in your league.
All right. So we go from a heralded prospect to somebody who may have gone most likely undrafted in your league. If not, he was picked up at the last couple of rounds. Chas McCormick is just enjoying one of the hottest hot streaks, but the thing doesn't seem to end. Every time I'm saying, like, Chas McCormick, this is the week, right? And then next week he's going to slow down. He's just so hot right now. And I hate to do a Zoolander right there, but he's just so hot. So, and I try to pick Twitter accounts that aren't, the Major League Baseball and things of that nature. But the Houston Astros just said it best because, the AL Player of the Week, Chas McCormick, this is for last week. Just listen to these stats for last week. This is insane. This is video game numbers. OPS 2.188. I mean, an OPS above 1 point whatever is stellar. Above 2, that's nuts. An average 636, 7 runs scored, 5 RBIs, 3 home runs. Stop it. Whoever is got the controller set to easy needs to just change it right now. So, and then if you go to his Savant page, right, there's a lot of good, a lot of red. He does strike out. His hard hit percentage is not, the greatest right now, but outs above average is 82 percentile. Sprint speed is 70 percentile, but his slugging percentage, expected slugging, is 62 percentile, and barreling at 71%. And his spray chart, he's pretty much poolside, but he has still had a lot of home runs to the opposite field. So, and doubles and triples and all that other fun stuff as well. So, Chas McCormick, where are we at right now? We are at I'm still laughing about this. At 58 games, 12 home runs, 30 runs scored, 35 RBIs, almost 9% walk rate, and a 26% K rate for an Astros team that isn't going anywhere. I mean, in the sense that they're not, suddenly on a nosedive. He's playing in, a top tier team doing these amazing numbers. And, once they get Jordan back and all the other kind of players back to 100%, that's what I was referring to. You're looking at a team that's going to just continue to dominate. If Chas can stay like this, wow, watch out. I pause here before I throw it over to Jason, but seriously, do you need more? I mean, did I not just tell you how crazy his stats were last week? That's a must add. I mean, regardless, put it in your lineup. But as always, Jason, put some sensibility into what I'm saying and being a little ridiculous here, but tell us more about Chas.
Yeah, no, I mean, you didn't go too crazy because, he has been just nuclear right now. Since the All-Star break, he's, even prior to the All-Star break, I think it goes back to like the 8th of July, he's gotten on base safely in all 12, 15 games. Good power speed combo with the 12 home runs and the 10 stolen bases. He had a multi-home run game last week, which just adds to his, nuclear stats, I guess we'll call them. But yeah, 242 ISO, so the power's real. 149 WRC plus in a Houston lineup that's, it scores runs. And they're going to find, they keep running on these injuries. Altuve, I know Alvarez is coming back soon, but the playing time will be there for McCormick. So absolutely add him in your league, especially in the 4 or 5 outfield leagues. He absolutely needs to be started in your starting lineup. So get him now if he's available, which he should be.
All right. Well, how do I put this? I was excited to see an A's player as our next player, but at the same time, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to totally mispronounce his names. I have not been shy to say that I try to pronounce everybody correctly, but I know I butcher a lot of names. And the sad part is that my name is hard to pronounce. And so it became JP very quickly. And so I feel terrible when I do this, but I'll still try. So Zack Gelof he's our number 3 prospect. The thing is that a lot of people didn't catch the name because it was sandwiched with another call up at the same time. Tyler Soderstrom, right, was called up. He was the number 1 prospect for the A's. Zach is number 3. It's not that far behind, but they're both called up together, which is great because the A's need something exciting going for them. They've just been absolutely abysmal. Whether it be the fact that, the ownership's terrible, just needed to throw that in there. Please sell the team. But the fact that the team needs a little bit of life, and bringing in some young prospects sometimes can do that. So Martin Gallegos, who is part of the Gallegos lineage, if you're an A's fan at all, you know the Gallegos name. But, he was one of the first people to kind of call out the fact, since he had the sources back in July 12th, that both Soderstrom and Zach were being called up together. Now, since he's been called up, let's just real quickly go back to his AAA stats, right? So in AAA, and this is this year, he's 23 years old, by the way, which, I mean, again, it just blows my mind. I can't remember what I was doing at 23, and I wasn't doing anything constructive at all. But 23 years old, in his 69 games that he had 12 home runs, 60 runs scored, and 44 RBIs with 20 stolen bases. Really, I just want to underline that. I know stolen bases is such a key stat, even though we've had such a huge influx of stolen bases. Getting an infielder that can give you, 20 plus stolen bases is still pretty good, because that's also going to mean a lot more infield singles and things of that nature. 13% walk rate with a 27 K rate. Now, we have a person who in half a season basically hit, double-digit home runs, 20 plus stolen bases. That's a pretty good, well-rounded player. And somebody can give me 20 plus home runs on, again, just going for the whole season, and close to 40 stolen bases, that will play anywhere. So since he's been up in Oakland, it's only been 7 games. We haven't had any home runs, but then again, let's go from Cincinnati, who has, the Great American Ballpark, which is just home run friendly, to the Coliseum, which is a cavern. And if you've ever been there, it's a terrible stadium front to back, because they needed to upgrade that thing a long time ago. And it's just suppresses power like crazy. So hopefully he gets a lot of road games. But right now, we've seen a little bit of an elevated strike rate at 31%, but he's still walking a ton at 10. So what I'm seeing here is somebody who's already hit 2 stolen bases. The speed's going to play, which is only going to just continue to hopefully add confidence. But as well as I go through kind of the Twitter highlights and trying to pick a Twitter account to quote on our show, all I saw was amazing defensive plays as well. So even if his bat isn't doing great, which so far it's doing pretty well, defense is going to keep him in the lineup. So, Jason, what are we thinking here? I mean, we talked about Trevor Story, not saying Zack Gelof is Trevor Story, but we talked about Trevor Story, his power hitting infielder, and we love that. But we have a guy who has above average power plus speed. Are we supposed to be adding him here everywhere, or is this another one of those bench wait and see type players?
I'd probably add him and wait and see. However, we are getting to that point of the season. We talked about it earlier. We're getting pretty close now here to where you got to start chasing those in roto leagues. We'll assume for most leagues, we got to chase categories, right? And stolen bases, while they are up this year, can be still one of those things that's on the waiver wire that's like really hard to find. It's almost like saves. You chase saves for pitchers. Chasing stolen bases is a real thing come August and September here, because it becomes like, oh, this guy stole like 2 bases the last 2 weeks. I got to add him because I need to climb those ranks of the stolen bases. So get Gelof now, or Zack Gelof now, while he's still like under the radar, right? I mean, it's Oakland. No one really wants to touch anybody in Oakland. Get him now. Once getting on base at a steady rate here, you can start putting him in there. He's going to get those stolen bases. We've seen the track record with the stolen bases. Oakland's going to let him run. They got nothing to play for. I would hesitate putting him in a starting lineup right now. Maybe stash him, see what he does for the next week or two, and if you need to pick up somebody else or he's not producing, you can absolutely drop him. Before we get off this topic, though, was it the most Oakland Athletics move you've ever seen to post and sign Fujinami and then immediately flip him 6 months later?
No.
I saw they come across the
the fact that we basically gave away 3 All-Stars for a bag of magic beans that are spoiled. I mean,
it's just so insane. Fujinami wasn't obviously the biggest name coming across international, but I mean the guy's got high velo. He's kind of takes these international guys sometimes a little bit of time to adjust.
Right.
He started to pitch pretty well here in the last month or two, and
so in other words, he had value.
Yeah, I mean,
so he had some value, and Oakland's like, oh, value.
we can't have value on this team. Get rid of him.
God, how dare you try to play well? Just sell the team,
Yeah,
man.
I just wanted to take another shot at you and your Oakland.
Thank you. Thanks, man. I appreciate that because kick me while I'm down. I appreciate that.
Yeah, back to Gelof though. Yeah, like I said, just add him, stash him. You may need stolen bases. I'm sure a lot of people need stolen bases going forward here, and it's one of those categories that seems to be always chased here at the end of the season. So
yeah,
I was value here.
I was laughing because you said chasing stolen bases, and I was just the idea of somebody running for stolen bases and then you chase. Anyways, it was a good mental picture. All right, so our last player here, who I love the fact that the Pirates are still playing well, and anytime we kind of miss on these teams, like you and I did on the NL team preview that we did in the preseason. I'm happy, right? Yeah, it sucks that we missed, but at the same time, it's great to see teams that were supposed to be based on dwellers that weren't supposed to be doing well. And here we go, Endy Rodriguez. So with Platinum Cabron, so Platinum Key 13 on Twitter, Endy Rodriguez picked up his first extra base hit in that Major League Baseball in the top of the ninth, 104.7 exit velocity. So that was from yesterday. 104.7. I mean, what? So, yeah, that's not bad. Okay, in the major so far, he's only played 4 games, so 13 plate appearances. He hasn't walked at all, which we'll talk about here in a second. But 70% K rate, yikes! But we've seen that he can hit when he gets contact. He can absolutely crush the ball. Now, let's look at what happens when he has a bunch of games. So we can actually normalize some of these percentages here, right? So in the 67 games, almost 300 plus plate appearances in AAA this year, 11% walk rate and 14% K rate. And that's pretty much in line with almost his entire, all his minor league years. He only had 2 seasons where he was over 20 and 20% K rate. And that was in 2018 when he was at 20% exactly. And in 2022 in high A when he was 20.8. Everything else is under 20%. So it's not somebody who's going to be striking out a lot. Again, going back to his minor leagues this year, because again, we only have 4 games, 6 home runs, 38 RBIs, 54 runs scored, and 4 stolen bases. So it's somebody who is going to probably get you, I'd say 10, 15 stolen bases. He didn't have a bunch. He had never had more than 4 in any other league stop, but he does have speed. And on top of that, again, we've seen stolen bases are high this year. And the Pirates are definitely stealing bases this year as well. So this is something that, definitely should watch out for. But I love the Endy Rodriguez kind of call up, not only from the pedigree, but just from the overall way he plays. He just plays with reckless abandon. I love players like that, both in real life and on my team, because they always seem to just show that hustle play that also adds stats to my league. So that's why I'm picking up Endy Rodriguez. Jason, how about you? Are we picking him up everywhere?
Yeah, I mean the transition's been a little rough here in the first 4 games, but again, a small sample size.
Right.
It definitely looks overmatched. However, catcher, right? It's always almost like a revolving door. If you can, there's no reason. There's probably about maybe 3-4 catchers that you're not gonna sit out of your lineups.
Right.
Why not gamble on an Endy Rodriguez who is a highly touted prospect? We've seen some production in the minor leagues with the power and the speed, which those stolen base numbers that you said, that's coming from your catcher position. That's just a huge advantage you can have on any of your league mates. He's just on the Pirates right now, which we talked about at the beginning of the year, who were like, oh man, look at this team, it's just producing a ton of runs, and now we're kind of just regressing back to the mean here.
Yep.
Where they're just like the offense is kind of sputtered here, and they've just not been what they were at the first half of the season. But in 2 catcher leagues and even some single catcher leagues, deep leagues, grab Endy. I'd wait to see until he starts to produce. Maybe if you put him in your lineup, if you can. If not, he seems to be more along the lines with these real life prospects.
Right.
They have Henry Davis right now, but Henry Davis isn't a catcher. He's not playing catcher right now for the Pirates. Endy Rodriguez is playing catcher, so he'll keep the catcher eligibility. Add him on your team. keep him on your bench if you have to, and see if you can, maybe transition what he was doing in the minors to the majors.
No, I absolutely agree. And, again, I've had Connor Wong in my lineup in multiple leagues, and he doesn't play every day. But when he does play, he typically gets a home run. Maybe it's really crazy about that. Yeah. And that's the thing about catchers, right? I want somebody who's not going to give me negative stats a lot of times. If they're, not driving down my batting average or my OBP, and he's somebody who's actually going to probably get you some counting stats as he continues to play and get a little bit more acclimated to the lineup. And like you said, 2 catcher leagues, it's a must add. In 1 catcher leagues, I would keep an eye on them, add them possibly. But I'm a big believer in either get a catcher that is like Connor Wong, doesn't play every day, it's not going to mess up your stats, or obviously get one of those top tier catchers. But I'm a big believer in just trying not to get somebody who's going to mess up your stats in the catcher position. I do want to let everybody know before we sign off here that, we always debate in the back room before you even get these names. So we had Chas McCormick, at the last minute because we were going to have Peraza on. And the thing is that, and I'm not going to go into, Peraza and all that stuff, but I do want people to understand that, we disagree. It sounds like we agree all the time, but we do disagree. And in the back, we're like, well, we have a lot of people that are trying to talk about the various people we should, highlight on the show. And we had some people that are like, I just don't believe in them. And we kind of did a vote, and it was kind of like, well, we had a majority that said, you know what, I'd rather pull out a different name, somebody else that, I can 100% get behind. Peraza is definitely a good prospect, and probably I don't highlight him next week because I have that kind of touch. When I talk bad about somebody, they're awesome the next week, like the Pirates were. But I just want everybody to know that, when you come on here and when you listen to what we do, we do put a lot of thought behind this. We do a lot of kind of debates about this. And this is something you can see on our Discord as well. So please, if you have any questions, if you tell me, hey, Dapscout, your take on Peraza sucks because he's amazing and he's the second coming of Mickey Mantle, I'm down for that too. Come on, send us notes on Twitter. Jason and I always love talking to everybody, and we always love questions as well. So from myself, thank you so much for watching. Jason, do you have any things to plug or anything else?
No, that was a good point, though. We're not just yes men up here talking heads, just yes. We agree. There's a lot of thought put into these videos, and we want to give you the 5 best or 6 names that we've thought about in the background, and not just coming up here and I want this guy and this guy. So it seems like we're just pushing a narrative here. We're not. There's a lot of back and forth. So that was a good point. But other than that, no, that's about it.
All right. Well, hey, thank you all for watching the show, and see you next week.